the third and final lens in the Sirui Night Walker Cine lens set, the 55mm T1.2. Now this is the bokeh beast of the three. And yes, we are going to put it up against the Sigma 56mm f1.4 and just get a bit of a visual comparison. Welcome back to the channel. As you know by now, I've done a video of the Sirui Night Walker lenses. I've actually done a video of each focal range separately, just so that I can show you enough about each focal range, and I will do a comparison of all three together to see what they kind of do as a set. To start off, let's talk about the range. The Night Walker Cine lens series does come in a 24, a 35 and a 55mm, all at T1.2. All of them are available in Sony E, Fuji X, RF for Canon and Red Komodo, and I have the MFT version. And because that is micro four thirds, this 55mm T1.2 gives me a 110mm full frame equivalent focal length at T1.2, essentially giving me a T2.4 look in depth of field, but obviously you get the T1.2 benefit of light. And this is why this is the bokeh beast of the bunch. Build quality. Now, all three of these lenses, like I have said, are built exactly the same. So you've got a 67mm filter thread in the front, a manual aperture ring, as well as a manual focus ring, all clickless, stepless. There's no hard stops. You can go right through. The focus throw on this is 270 degrees. Now at 55mm 270 degrees, you can be pretty picky about your focus. Even though at 110mm full frame equivalent, it's pretty hard to nail focus at T1.2. And on the aperture, just like every single lens across the set, it goes from T1.2 all the way to T16. T-stop versus f-stop. I think I've explained this enough. Basically, f-stop gives you the amount of light that comes into the lens with your aperture opening up, and T-stop is essentially the amount of light that actually hits the sensor that passes right through. T-stop being a lot more accurate of a measurement and a reading. So basically, if you put this lens at T2 and you swap out with another Sirui at T2, your exposure will actually be exactly the same. Whereas if you use the lens that is f2.8 and you put another lens on at f2.8, the exposure actually won't be the same. The Sigma 56mm f1.4 versus the Sirui 55mm T1.2. The bokeh showdown. When it comes to a lens comparison, I always find it useful to put it against something that everyone kind of knows. Now, if you're on APS-C, you probably know the Sigma 56mm f1.4 lens. Insanely sharp, amazing for portraits. And yes, these two lenses are very different. This is a photography-based lens, that's why it's so sharp. The Cine lens is more for video work, hence everything is full manual. However, because everyone knows this, and it's 56mm, and this is 55, 1.4, 1.2, it's a pretty good way for you to get an understanding if you haven't bought into the Sirui Night Walker lenses. Also, the Sigma 56mm is actually a lot more expensive than the Sirui 55. These on the pre-order was $309. I think they're going to retail at $349. So a lot cheaper, a lot better build. It's amazing what Sirui has actually done here. So this is a shot of the Sirui lens at T1.2, half body of Michelle, and this is at T1.4. Now, if you're wondering, that's the bokeh that you get at half body, and this is the bokeh at full body at T1.2, and this is full body at T1.4. I find these examples of half body and full body quite important for people that want to buy a lens. I know it's something that I always look for. I try and see that focal range if I'm shooting people or maybe a wedding, what it will kind of look like if I cropped someone half body and full body, and what does that compression look like. Now, to put these up against each other, I'm going to put these both at 1.4 just so that we can get a nice even comparison. Check this out. This is the Sirui at T1.4, and this is the sharpness when punched in at 200%. Now this is the Sigma at f1.4, and this is the sharpness when punched in to 200%. Now the Sigma, as I mentioned, is known to be an insanely sharp lens, and you can see it is a bit sharper than the Sirui 55mm T1.2. Cine lenses aren't meant to be super sharp, but if you are into sharpness and you want to shoot wide open, you can add a little bit of sharpness in post. So check this out, a little bit of sharpness in post, and they start to look almost identical to each other. Now the bokeh on the 55mm is a little bit creamier and softer. They are very close. Now the bokeh on the Sirui Night Walker is a little bit softer and creamier. They both are very similar. The Sigma could be a little bit more contrasty, and that is one thing with Cine lenses. They do look a little bit more flat, which does also allow you a little bit more color grading in post. Sharpness and picture quality. For the brick sharpness test, here we go. I've explained why I don't find this useful for paid jobs and real life jobs, but check this out. This is the center sharpness at T1.2. This is at T2 and T2.8. This is edge sharpness at T1.2, T2, and T2.8. Chromatic aberration. Now yes, at T1.2 you are definitely going to get chromatic aberration, like I've shown across all the lenses. And with most lenses, even high-end lenses at 1.2, you are going to get some form of chromatic aberration. Is the chromatic aberration that bad that it affects normal everyday shots? No, I tend to not see it that much, and if it is a little bit evident, you could remove it in post just a bit, just to make it a little bit more acceptable. But I didn't find shooting this around T1.4, T1.5 that I got a lot of chromatic aberration. With that being said, I'm not going to lie, on the 55mm at T1.2 it is hard to nail focus. A more telephoto lens with a depth of field of T1.2 is ridiculous. Focus breathing. Now here's a little bit of a focus breathing test. One thing to remember is don't let the out of focus elements fool you in terms of focus breathing. Focus breathing is essentially when a lens tends to look like it is zooming when you actually rack in focus from maximum to minimum focus, rather than the out of focus elements actually expanding in the background, making it look as if it's zooming in and out. So on the Sirui Night Walker 55mm, you have very minimal focus breathing. Now I am going to be dropping a full set review across all of these, doing a color comparison, showing you different focal lengths of the lenses and what kind of depth of field you get between all three. And I think you're going to enjoy that comparison. But that's it from me and the Sirui 55mm Night Walker. I will drop a link in the description below where you can pick up the Sirui Night Walker 55mm or the entire set. Wherever you are in the world, have a good day, good evening, good night. Goodbye.